An exit tax on any resident trying to flee the tyranny of a blue state.
An exit tax or wealth tax in order to combat revenue losses from residents fleeing to lower tax areas.
The problem, just talking about it, is sending billionaires running to red states across the country.
You start to forget that your grand ambitions of wide-scale social program access only benefits, by definition, poor people who qualify for government welfare. So the population that you're attracting with these generous programs are, by definition, net drains. And the more people you have that aren't...
That needs to be studied, and people need to pay attention to that. They're attracting people who don't pay the taxes for the services that they're attracting people with. That's something you got to remember. Grace and peace, everybody. Of all the crazy things that you have heard of, I guarantee you this one right here is going to be at the top, if not the top craziest thing that you've heard today. Check this out.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrat Party is in full-blown self-sabotage mode right now, and I am absolutely loving it. Most notably and recently, the Trump-deranged congressman who had to drop out of the California governor's race in shame after he was exposed for being a substance-abusing sexual degenerate. Shocking. But after years of governing under what I've coined as the Looney Tunes doctrine, residents are fleeing blue states by the millions. And Democrat governors, frightened by their budget deficits exploding and their communist ambitions crumbling, are proposing their most desperate and dangerous idea yet that will be their permanent nail in the coffin. An exit tax on any resident trying to flee the tyranny of a blue state. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but let's jump straight into it because this is insane.
A growing number of blue states are exploring an exit tax or wealth tax in order to combat revenue losses from residents fleeing to lower tax areas. At least 10 have recently explored proposals, including California, Michigan, and Washington State. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris, joining us. And we know it's not just notable high net worth people, Jeff, that are leaving these tax states, but also businesses like Chevron and Uber. Tell us more.
So major corporations, financial firms, and also people continue to relocate their headquarters or operations from high tax states like California and New York to more business-friendly areas like Texas and Florida. The move's coming as more blue states explore these wealth and also exit taxes. Across the country, at least 10 states are now exploring or have already passed an exit or wealth tax in order to combat revenue losses from residents fleeing to lower tax areas. That includes California, New York, and Michigan.
Tally up the value of your home, your cars, your furniture, your assets, your stocks, your bonds, your art. And there's a tax on that value.
The problem is Democrats are ideologically committed to a way of life that is financially impossible. They believe it is incumbent upon the government to provide every luxury and creature comfort to every person, citizen or not, as a human right. They believe every homeless person deserves a high-rise luxury apartment. They believe violent criminals deserve endless chances because, you see, crime is a feature of poverty, and it's immoral to punish people for being poor. And to pay for this fanciful cartoon world, they financially punish the people who work hard and contribute the most. And people in these high tax blue states have generally accepted the higher tax rate as long as it doesn't come with a reduction in their quality of life. And these same residents who have accepted receiving the least in government services while paying the most are fed up with politicians always having a brilliant creative way to implement another tax, but no meaningful solutions to do things like reduce crime other than tell the citizens to deal with it. And now, after millions of people have fled blue states since COVID, they're literally going full authoritarian and trying to hold people hostage with an exit tax. And that's because this isn't a solution to their budget crisis. This is desperate, unhinged panic from people who know their states are finished, and they're trying to squeeze every last dollar they can out of the people before that happens. Take a look at how much Illinois, New York, and California lost in tax revenue in just 1 year of residents leaving.
All you have to do is look at California versus Nevada. New York versus Florida, and there's a huge exodus taking place.
Meanwhile, New York Governor Kathy Hochul acknowledging that the state's tax base has been heavily impacted by an exodus to low-tax states, urging wealthier residents to come back.
I need people who are high net worth to support the generous social programs that we want to have in our state. But maybe the first step should be go down to Palm Beach and see who we can bring back home, because our tax base has been eroded.
Now, according to the...
That's crazy work. Look at this. Look at this. These numbers, man. California's lost 11 billion. New York, 9, basically, let's say 10. Illinois, 6. That's how much income is lost. But it's funny that this is tax. These are taxes. So basically, these taxes are not going to be paid because these people have moved from it. Why do they see this as they owe this? They're owed this money. Like, that's crazy work. We can't do this. You can't live like this. But look at Florida, man. $20 billion increase. Texas, South Carolina. What's up with Georgia? What are we doing? We need to get these people here in Georgia.
Most recent IRS service data from 2022 to 2023. Due to migration from blue to red states, California lost just under $12 billion and New York $9.9 billion, while Florida gained $20.5 billion and Texas $5.5 billion.
Those three states lost $27 billion in 1 year, all while these three same states are providing infinite welfare benefits to infinite illegal aliens. In the state of Illinois alone, the population over the last decade has decreased by 1%. Yet the state's budget has increased by 70%. In California, the same story. Their population only grew by 1% over the last decade, but the state budget grew by 100%. California has spent tens of billions of dollars and over a decade building a high-speed rail project that has not laid a mile of track. And just last week, they announced the project needs more funding and will have a total price tag of $126 billion. And let me be clear, it's not bad to have ambitious public works projects. In theory, that's exactly what the government should be doing. But in practice, it's stolen and extracted by 1,000 tiny grubby little hands who turn around and provide financial support and backing to the politicians in charge. It's not like 0 mile of track has been laid and all the original money is still sitting there. All of the money, billions of dollars, has been spent. And people finally realize that all of these unnecessary moral virtue signaling regulations that make you feel good about protecting the spotted owl actually prevent you from building and accomplishing anything and creates an additional extraction layer that exists solely to benefit the friends of politicians. But did you know that their exit tax is merely a response to rich people leaving after their latest proposal, a wealth tax?
California seems to be speed running toward its own demise with bad policy after bad policy. The latest harebrained idea from the state's liberal lawmakers, actually it started with a union, a 5% wealth tax on the state's highest earners.
The problem, just talking about it, is sending billionaires running to red states across the country. Adding on to the exodus the state has seen since the COVID pandemic, with over 1.5 million people and counting departing the Golden State for greener pastures.
For a state that's consistently grown every year since its inception, losing 1.5 million residents in a 4-year period is disastrous. It is a stark indictment of the failures of the Looney Tunes doctrine. When your policies are disconnected from reality and you see your tax revenue as a self-evident truth, as something you can always rely on or increase by introducing new taxes, you start to forget that your grand ambitions of wide-scale social program access only benefits, by definition, poor people who qualify for government welfare. So the population that you're attracting with these generous programs are, by definition, net drains. And the more people you have that aren't...
That needs to be studied, and people need to pay attention to that. They're attracting people who don't pay the taxes for the services that they're attracting people with. That's something you got to remember. Shout out, man.
Positively contributing, the bigger those expenses become. And so you have to keep increasing taxes to pay for the growing population of government dependents. And when the rich people leave, the budget problem gets worse. And you have less money to pay for the crucial services that everybody relies on. So the quality of life goes down for everybody across the board. And then when regular people finally decide they've had enough and they want to leave too, now you risk the entire system imploding, so you have to institute an exit tax. Listen to CNBC reveal how much some of these billionaires would have to pay in California's wealth tax, and you'll understand why they fled.
Well, let's just break down real numbers. So for Larry Page, Sergey Brin, Mark Zuckerberg, you're talking about tax bills of $12-15 billion. So, but that's one piece of it. The second piece is, in order to raise that amount of cash, these guys are rich, but they don't have $10 billion lying around. They have to sell their shares. When you sell your shares, you pay a capital gains tax, both federal and state. And so that tax on top of that, plus you have to pay the tax on the shares you sold to pay the tax. So you're talking about $12 billion in taxes, but probably $20 billion or so once the net of that to pay.
Famous residents of Indian Creek Island. Okay. Jeff, Tom, Jared and Ivanka, Julio, Carl, and Irina, or rather Adriana. Okay. So I guess these people, multi-billionaires to the and they would have to shell out quite a bit in order just to flee California. That's crazy work.
The 5% California wealth tax. So it's more than it looks. They can afford it. That is absolutely true. When you're worth $240 billion, you can spare $12 or $20 billion. But for them to, even if it's just sort of a chance of this passing, it makes sense as a hedge to buy in Florida, perhaps even move there for now, and then see where it all shakes out. By the way, even if this doesn't pass, It could be next year or the year after. So the fear is California will keep doing this until something works, and they just don't want it anymore.
So I'm not asking you to sit here and sympathize with a person worth $200 billion having to pay $20 billion. I want you to sympathize with your own self-interests, which is if you own stocks and every billionaire has to liquidate tens of billions of dollars in a fire sale, that means their large selling of stocks to pay for their tax bill will crater the stock price. That would drag the financial markets down as a whole, even for companies that are completely unrelated. Everybody's stock portfolio, 401k, IRA, retirement account would lose tremendous amounts of value. And again, whether you like billionaires or not is irrelevant. That is simply the economic reality of how financial markets work. And for Democrats to propose some of this stuff and completely ignore economic reality only furthers my confirmation that they're operating under the Looney Tunes doctrine. But the left says it's okay because billionaires are evil, they're immoral, and they deserve to be punished.
So we got the billionaires are bad. Watch what happens next.
But the problem is when you get comfortable stealing from rich people, it never stops just with the wealthiest. That's why Seattle, Washington just passed their new millionaire tax.
Okay, another major wealth tax may be coming to the West Coast. Surprise, surprise. This time it's Washington State, where lawmakers are pushing for a millionaire's tax. Can't they come up with a better title? It's always a millionaire's tax. Critics say it could send that tax base packing. Fox Business's Max Gordon joins us with more. Hey, Max.
Hey, Brian. Well, Washington's Governor Bob Ferguson and some state Democrats are pushing for a 9.9% tax on income above $1 million per year. If passed, that would mean Seattle's millionaires would have the highest total top income tax rate in the nation at 18%, placing it above New York City and Portland, Oregon. Washington State is home to major companies like Costco and Starbucks and has a vibrant tech sector, including Amazon and Microsoft. But there's worry that this state income tax could drive away top talent.
So the left galvanizes a spirit of hate, bitterness, and jealousy. They provide comfort, safe haven, and delusional cope for people's insecurities and inadequacies. They tell them all their problems are due to a handful of wealthy people at the very tippity top, and they incite primal mob mentality to seize the wealth of these people, democratically, of course, so it's okay. And after they tax all the billionaires out of existence and their lives still haven't improved, in fact, they've gotten worse because the billionaires take their corporation and the jobs with them elsewhere, the logical conclusion they draw is things will improve if we tax the millionaires now. And it becomes this cascading effect of perpetually pushing the tax burden down the socioeconomic hierarchy. And you finally get to a situation like in New York City, where now Zoran proposes an inheritance tax on every middle-class New Yorker. It goes from billionaires are too rich to anybody who owns a home is too rich faster than you can say communist utopia. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.
Shout out to Brandon Lehman, and I'll leave the link down to this video down in the description. Definitely go check him out. See what he's got going on over there. Shout out to him. And I think we need to have a conversation. We need to start looking at these taxes that our elected officials are implementing are going insane. This is insane. This is bonkers. And again, I'm not even impacted by a lot of this, but I can see that the long tail ramifications of it will decimate communities, whether it be the employers, whether it be employees, whether it be people trying to save, trying to retire, whatever. So let me know what you think. Jump into the comment section down below. Give me your 2 cents. Give me all your, no, but don't give me, we're not going to tax you though, but give me a 2 cent. Let me know what you think about it. I'm looking forward to hearing what you got to say. Until next time, everybody. Grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.